Hello, I'm back. So, this is gonna be my second video about the most recent video about TechLead show. I've introduced him before. Again, he's sort of like a millionaire doing React content, mostly about tech, mostly about how it is to be a millionaire, something like that. But that's not why I'm interested in him. He did like 3 videos about Russia and Ukraine. Saw the first one. Fucking dog shit. I did a video about it. The audio is pretty poor quality, but the basic gist of it you can also get from Loanerbox, uh, this channel. No, wait, was Loanerbox live, where he did a video about him as well, which I just saw today. Which, alright, pretty good video. He focused mostly on the historic part of what he's saying and on the facts what he's saying instead of like the arguments he's making, which I'm more about the arguments. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into his second video, because I have not watched this one. I watched this one before. I haven't seen this one. I'm very curious. It's been almost a week, but I still think it's interesting to go over. So yeah, let's watch.
I think Ukraine should surrender. Yeah, I think they should surrender. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree with this statement and say, how
True.
can you be such a coward? This is such a weak thing to do. This is not right. And they're going to say that I'm an idiot and they're just going to not watch this video. But when we think about how do we maximize the number of lives saved? How do we minimize the number of deaths? If life is more important than politics, then just surrender. We stop all bloodshed immediately. Nobody has to die at all. And the fact is there's so much massive brainwashing and war propaganda out there that it is very difficult to figure out what is the truth. There's a
Okay, so he's making two arguments. The first one is a utilitarian argument, right? Like, if we want to reduce harm, if we want to reduce murders, if we want to reduce deaths, we should not fight against Russia. We should just, lay on our backs and let them roll over. But the other argument, and I do think that this is true. If they would surrender, there would be less deaths. But if you surrender, you have sacrificed just more. How about limiting your freedom? Like in Russia, currently you're being arrested if you protest. There is no democracy in Russia. Ukraine has a democracy. They have overcome authoritarianism, or at least to a certain extent in their political, in their politics. So they have that freedom, and that freedom is being threatened by Russia. So just rolling over, yes, people will not die as much as they currently are, but if they don't fight, they won't be as free as they were before the war. And I think fighting for freedom is more respectable than not doing it, No, like he should just no, you just fight for your freedom. Everybody should do so, in my opinion, but you can have a choice in it. So I don't think his argument is correct.
tweet here. You're not going to like this, but your outrage at Russia is not real. It was put there by people who know you better than you know yourself. The entire narrative is manufactured by all of the media outlets. And all this propaganda is the exact same case that Glenn Greenwald, if you remember, he's the journalist who blew up in the Edward Snowden case, has been complaining about, noting that a huge portion of the viral stories that people spent the first week mindlessly passing around either had no evidence, reason to believe they were false, or were debunked later on, including stories like the Ghost of Kiev airplane that shot down so many Russian airplanes. This was video game footage. And so, if you just take one moment to try to search for the truth, maybe just hear both sides of this, you will quickly discover that truly Ukraine has been the aggressor in all of this. They have provoked.
Alright, so how does he know he's not getting propaganda? Alright, that's the key distinction, because you can say, I'm gonna look at this and I'm gonna look at that, and then it's propaganda, like if it's if it's anti-Russian, it's propaganda. But if it's pro-Ukraine, it's not. If it's pro-Russia, it's not propaganda. Like, What the hell? Like, people in Russia are currently believing that there isn't even a war going on. Like, soldiers who have invaded Ukraine have just say, wait, we don't want to fight. They have been sent there because they thought it was training. Like, it's so insane how a lot of people in Russia are actually being brainwashed, but he is like basically gaslighting you in letting you believe that you have been brainwashed by the Ukrainian propaganda. And there is propaganda, of course. There's no doubt about it. But then the second thing he said, he was talking about Ukraine being the aggressor. That's just not true. Ukraine is definitely not as powerful as Russia, in the first place. Second of all, how can they be aggressive? They just wanted to join NATO. Like, have they done any attacks on Russia? Were they planning to do so? Like, and even if they were, like, how do you think that would have ended, though? Russia has nukes. Ukraine is currently holding decently well in defense, but like in offense, like they would fucking fail. Like it's insane how you can believe that Ukraine would even have a chance or would even try to do something against Russia.
Provoked Russia to war by trying to join NATO. In fact, there's this
Yeah, okay, this is a very common argument. NATO is a defensive alliance. It doesn't do anything to attack Russia. They don't even have the plans to do so.
very clear speech by Putin announcing the start of the conflict, which received almost no airtime in the West. It was very difficult to find. I don't know why nobody bothered showing this, but it's a must-see speech. I'll link it in the description below, but it is quite historic in that it's announcing what his aims are, and it's not to conquer Ukraine. He says, the current events have nothing to do with the desire to infringe on the interests of Ukraine and the Ukrainian people. I reiterate, we are acting to defend ourselves from the threats created for us and from a worse peril than what is happening now.
What the hell is the threat to Russia? The European Union have been working together with Russia with different projects. They haven't had any sanctions on them for a long time. Then they invade Ukraine, then you get sanctions. Like, what's the aggressive part? Like, there were not troops from the European Union or from NATO trying to get into Russia. You know, there's no attack being done against them. Again, NATO is a defensive alliance. The deal is if you join NATO and you get attacked, then all the other countries will help to defend you. That's why currently everybody's on the border of Poland and Ukraine and all the other NATO borders. Even Finland is trying to join now because after what's happening to Ukraine, which is a good thing. But to say like NATO is the offensive force, NATO is the one attacking, Ukraine is the one provoking this, that's just not true. This is the Russian propaganda. He's literally taking all his information from either Putin himself or from his news stations. It's insane how much he's just saying, oh yeah, it's propaganda, while literally showing and talking about the propaganda he's been consuming.
And essentially, he's saying the same thing he's been saying the past 8 years, which is he just wants Ukraine to be neutral, to demilitarize, and keep trying to join NATO. And Ukraine's insistence to continue to try to militarize itself is simply unacceptable. You can't just build a military base on the doorsteps of Russia. This was the
Yeah, you can. Poland is also currently building up military troops on the border of Ukraine because of the threat of Russia. Yeah, if there are tanks rolling into your country, if there are soldiers marching on the borders towards your country, if there are separatists in your country backed by the Russians, then yeah, you want to fucking defend yourself against Russia. The same happened to Crimea.
the exact same thing that led to the Cuban Missile Crisis, where the Soviet Union tried to build a missile base in Cuba, and the US said, no, you can't do that. And so these negotiations had been continuing ineffectively for years, Ukraine continuing to build military bases right on Russia's doorstep, and Russia had no choice, feeling it as an existential threat.
The idea that Ukraine would build bases to attack Russia is literally insane, alright? Here. Oh, wait. No, don't. I want to see a map. I just want to see a map. Alright. So this is Ukraine, and this is Russia. So yeah, it's clear that Ukraine is a very big threat to Russia. Yeah, yeah. It seems to be like that. Yeah, this giant country can easily be overtaken by this small one, easily. Yeah. Yeah. This is very realistic. I can see so. Yeah. It's not like Ukraine has been trying to keep its peace after, you know, their authoritarian leader tried to fuck the Ukrainian people. But no. It's clear that Ukraine is trying to attack Russia. Yeah, of course, with the power they have. Hmm.
To preemptively disarm Ukraine before they became a real physical threat to them. And so the real story is what Ukraine is doing now is intentionally using its own citizens as body shields, putting military vehicles and artillery in residential areas intentionally in order to provoke an attack on its own residential civilians. And
That's a lie. Russia is invading. They are protecting themselves and the area around them.
then it's going to publish these war stories and war propaganda about civilians being killed. And in fact, Ukraine even recently removed age restrictions to join the army, so we've got child soldiers as well as.
Now this is disturbing. If you look at the site, you may not think, hmm, he has some sources, he backs it up. Whenever they link something, always look at the source. Always. Because I know this. RT means Russia Today. Or, wait, what is it? RT. I think it's Russia Today. Yup, Russia Today. RT is literally a media station controlled by the Russian government. This is literally propaganda from Russia. Try to disseminate it across the fucking world, and he's reading it. He's actually falling for it. Holy shit. This man.
Body shields. They are actively saying to their own children, hey, here's an AK-47, go join the fight, go war for your own country, for independence. I mean, you've already got people aged 18 to 60 who are fleeing the country, trying to get out of Ukraine, who are fleeing their own government. They're not afraid of Russia, they're afraid of Ukraine, trying to force them to fight a war that they don't want to fight. And Ukraine, meanwhile,
Yeah. Wait. Russia definitely wants to fight this war. They're pretending like they have to defend themselves. Again, there's no threat to Russia in the slightest. Until they invaded, of course. Ukrainians were just living in peace for as long as they may have known it. You know, they had some troubles in the 2014 elections, but they were having like a prosperous outcome. they were having some issues with separatists in the east with Russia, and then Russia just invaded, just went in. It's insane, and then saying, yeah, it's self-defense. What the hell? Nothing happened. NATO wasn't like, there have been talks in Ukraine about joining NATO, but even if that was the case, which at the time they didn't fully meet the requirements to join NATO in the first place. Second, now that there's actually talk about NATO, and if they would have actually been in NATO, it wouldn't have made a difference against the threat of Putin. Like he has just been he's just been trying to invade, and if Ukraine was a part of NATO, they wouldn't. That's just how simple it is. He can't comprehend that.
Is closing the borders, arresting people who are trying to escape, and forcing them to go out and be their body shields, and now they're asking for children to do this as well. Now, I like to get a balanced approach about all of this. So I go over to RT.com, which has been banned from Western propaganda, and I just take a look.
Western propaganda. Yeah, like state media from Russia. Uh, yeah, this is basically just the Russian government saying what's
At the
happening right
comments and
now.
see what are other people, what are the Russians believing, right? What type of propaganda do they think? Is this reasonable? And they're saying here that Ukraine has removed age restrictions. They're prepared to sacrifice kids at the altar of his egomania, that being Zelensky. Child soldiers, you hide behind kids now? This is exactly what Hitler did in his last moments. Zelensky made his own bed. He should lie in it, not the Ukrainian people. He was the fool who asked for nuclear weapons and NATO membership and said they would retake.
Okay, about the nuclear weapons, I don't know a lot about it. About the NATO membership, I know more. Okay, yeah, they wanted NATO membership. However, how is this a bad thing? Yeah, here he says it that formula would have caused World War III as the West would be forced to defend Ukraine. Yeah, that's great. We should defend Ukraine. Everybody should defend Ukraine. It's an independent country. I really can't believe how this is a bad thing.
Take Crimea. So again here, you cannot just build a nuclear base next to Russia, and when Russia comes to try to disarm that, say, hey, they're trying to invade us, help us, they're invading us. They're just defending themselves at this point. And as I understand, Russia
Nope.
doesn't even want to conquer Ukraine because
Defending would be if Ukrainians would walk on Russian soil. They did not do that. It's that simple.
it would be a huge hit to their own economy to try to absorb another country like that. Like, it could destroy Russia financially. You know, the reason some of these other territories like Crimea joined Russia was because they wanted to join Russia, and Russia really had no choice but to say, fine, you can join in. And so what's Russia really
gracious
after?
Russia.
It's simply to take the current regime in power, the Zelensky regime, and replace that with a shell government that is more amenable to them, to their interests. And you know, when you take a look.
Does he think Putin is more amenable to the interest of the Ukrainian people than the current democratically elected president? Like think about that. Think about this one. Protests go on in Russia. The protesters get arrested. Putin has been in power for 22 years. I think he's very, very nice to his people. And then you have Zelensky, who was democratically elected. Is currently on the ground in Ukraine. Who's currently leading efforts into securing the safety of the Ukrainian people. But yes, people would be better off on the regime of Putin. Of course, how did I not know? Like, you should ask like Putin's opponent in the elections. Maybe you can ask him how things are going there. You know, just to be safe.
Get like Japan and Germany, which also surrendered in World War II. They're doing great now, right? The people are thriving. So
they're doing great because the Allied forces fought against them. Is this guy like a literal idiot? You know, like France gave up in World War II, but they got saved by Allied forces from the US and Netherlands and all the other places who did not want Nazis. And they were doing fine because we got a massive fucking loan to rebuild our economy, to rebuild our countries, including Germany, I believe. And he's saying, yes, France giving up in World War II did great for them. Holy shit. I think he really just is a simp for authoritarianism. This dude is insane. I did not think he would top it after the first video, but this is significantly worse.
So in my opinion, the war is simply a battle between politicians throwing their own civilians to slaughter. Do you think that the average civilian in Ukraine even wants NATO membership? Do they even know what
Yes.
NATO membership is?
Yes.
And yet this is what they are dying for.
Yes. Wait. Ukrainians NATO membership. Since June 2014, polls show that about 50% of those asked support NATO. 2017, 69. Nice. Let's see. Ukraine-NATO relations. Yep, it's getting higher ever since. More and more people want to go into NATO. Here, just 17% is against it. I wanna see this. I can't read this. Wait. Can I choose English? Are Ukrainians ready for the Great War? Result of a sociological study. Ukrainian Institute of Future presents a sociological study conducted jointly with the US. Sample size, 1,200 people. Uh-huh. Fuck, I can't read this. Is it below? I can't read this. This is too bad. Well, if you want the source, you've seen how I got on here. If anyone can read like Ukrainian, I know it's just I know if Ukraine is a language, maybe it's Russian. I don't know. I'm bad at languages. Okay, if somebody can read this and can confirm that like 70 or like 50% supports joining NATO, that'd be awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I think my point's proven. People want to join NATO, definitely. All right.
Some more comments here. Zelensky wants to create more casualties in order to try and play the victim and gain public support. Children of Ukraine, be ready to die for billionaires of USA and Ukraine. Exactly, this war exists at a level far above the lives of any individual person in an abstract concept. You know, normal people probably don't even want to get involved in politics, and yet it is the diehard nationalists who are in control. Now,
No, the people who want to live and stay in Ukraine want to live and stay in Ukraine and fight for their freedom.
here's my problem with you guys. When I go on social media, And I see people saying, I stand with Ukraine, go fight, go throw your children to slaughter, go beat those Russians, just go fight and, whatever it takes, it's worth it. Go fight for your independence. You're asking these people to kill themselves for this cause. You're telling them that it's worth dying over.
Yes, yes, an independent country which is democratic is better than a non-democratic country like Russia, like fucking authoritarian country with no prospect of having any leadership changes made. I don't know, maybe a controversial opinion, but I like democracy. I like choosing our politicians. I like to have a country in which I don't have to fear from invasion. So that's why, like when Nazi Germany invaded those countries, it wasn't like, hey, we're just going to rule over, except for France. And then we agree with them and everything's gonna be fine, you know? But y yeah, that's just how it goes, you just roll over. Like, anytime someone starts a war, you say, nope, nope, yours to take. Yeah, that's really good conflict solving, my man. Really nice done.
And it's not. You wouldn't do it, right? If you want to, you can go enlist. The Ukrainian army is taking foreign people. You can go enlist if you want to. You can enlist your own children as well. But if you're not willing to enlist your own children, then how can you ask the Ukrainian people to enlist their children to go fight this?
I have to wonder, like, do they have to? They don't have to. They're not forced to fight, right? Like, if they are, then that
War,
would be
own
horrible.
children.
But
Unless if you
except
want
when
to.
you're in the army. Yeah, like this is still a choice. Like, you can choose not to. You can still choose to support. They have an army. They are able to defend themselves to a certain extent. Like, you don't have to. Again, this is the hypocrisy argument. Like, oh, you support this, then why aren't you doing this? It's so dumb. It's if you are if you have the right positions, you don't per se have to live by them. I'm personally I'm a socialist. Okay, I still live under capitalism. I can't just start a socialist country. You know, I don't have to do so. Like, I think being poor is fucking awful. Now, I don't have any experience of my own, but it doesn't mean that every time I see like a homeless person, I just give them enough money so they can survive. No, there are larger problems, which I cannot solve. And again, people who say, I support Ukraine, they have a moral problem with Russia, but they can't just solve it by just joining there. That's not how it works.
You can enlist your own children as well. But if you're not willing to enlist your own children, then how can you ask the Ukrainian people to enlist their children to go fight this war?
We're not asking them, it's voluntary, as far as I can tell.
And for what? Personally for me, I'm a
Independence
bit
and
of a
freedom.
nihilist. I don't think there's much meaning for life.
Democracy.
As this comment says, you will die for the wrong cause. You can die for independence, justice, freedom, liberty, democracy, communism, Japan, Germany, Russia, US, UK. It's all
Wait,
the
wait,
same.
wait, wait. I want to read this one. You will die for the wrong cause. Fascism and Nazism never won respect from the history of this world. Give up the fight and surrender in peace. Your leader is a criminal who does not care about your life. Holy shit. Like, you have an actual dictator in power in Russia, and they're calling the Ukrainian president fucking fascism and Nazism. I feel like these guys are projecting. I really don't see how they're fascists and Nazis. Probably the one in the separatists are probably more aligned with fascism and Nazism than a regular Ukrainian. This is projection. I can't say otherwise.
democracy, communism, Japan, Germany, Russia, US, UK, it's all the same. And I would also recognize here that there's this masculine culture, maybe in Ukraine, which is preventing.
Yeah, yeah, he's literally fighting with their soldiers on the ground. Like, how is he just running away or like having people protect him? No, he's actually fighting in the war.
Preventing these people from backing down. Maybe that's just the culture there, and people are saying, well, I'm not very masculine myself.
Un nazist virați, un nazist tanki, un nazist все. Вам жопа, парни.
But, these people are going to get themselves and their families killed. And then we'll see how masculine that really is. When you take a look at the philosophy of Sun Tzu, for example, he says that the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. The greatest victory is that which requires no battle. And that there's no instance of a nation benefiting from prolonged warfare. In war, there are no winners. As Zelensky states, I need ammo, not a ride. So those people who are just looking for a fight, guns blazing, dying in glory,
I can't believe this dude. They're fighting for independence. They're okay. Well, he's also a politician, so he must make like strong quotes, right? Like Winston Churchill with his famous "We'll fight them on the beaches." Like if you are in a war, if you are in a defensive position, you must keep morale high. You must ensure that you can still fight on. That it's not a lost cause. Like if that would be the case, nobody would fucking do it in a million years. I mean, if you keep up the spirit, if you like, let's go, we can do this, we can do this. Just give us our, give us what we needed, give us our the support we need. Then we can come out as victory. Like we can come out as people who won. And that's a good thing. Again, like I can't express how little he knows about this. And again, I said it last video as well. Where's the agency on Russia's part? Why aren't they just like, okay, you are an independent country, you fix it. It's fine. No, no, like, we'll defend our borders. You can fix your own shit. Why is he doing that? And why is it even a war if he considers it to be his own country? Like he's just criticizing Ukraine for doing the most basic thing a country can do in this period of time. And he's not even trying to call out Russia. Like he's either brainwashed or like an idiot. Like it's one of those two.
heroism, narcissism, testosterone fueled attention, fame, drama. You're gonna get your fight alright, and you may get everybody killed in the process. And I would just recognize that the greatest enemy is your own ego. Now, I want to conclude this with a story about my own divorce, which, if you've ever been in a divorce with kids, you will know that there are no winners in a divorce, and that sometimes the best path is to just lose here, because if you decide to fight it out, the only winners are going to be the attorneys. They're going to be the lawyers who are going to milk you dry over many years of court battle, and the kids are going to lose too. So sure, you can drag out the court battle.
This is not like a divorce. This is like an abusive husband or something. Like in a divorce, there are two parties who disagree with each other and who just can't get along. Like it sucks that he has to break up with his wife. Like, sorry, dude. But if this is not a divorce, this is not just two countries separating from each other and trying to hash out what the hell needs to be done. That's not how this works. This is one country that's like, I don't know, 20 times larger than another country, and the larger country just rolls in with the tanks, just gets the area and say, yeah, I had to do it. They were trying to attack me. Like, what the hell? Like, if you are the abusive husband in a relationship, and you see like your wife, like, I don't know, just walking around, and you hit her, and then you say, I thought you were falling, I just had to help you back up. Like, no, that's basically what Russia's doing right now. They're like trying to beat the shit out of Ukraine when it's done nothing wrong against Russia. Well, okay, that's not true. Well, they have done nothing so wrong that Russia needs to get involved in it. It's just Russia being abusive. It's insane to me.
and fight for yourself, fight for what's right, what you believe is true. And it's going to just damage everybody, and your life is going to just be misery for. I mean,
It's
you get
already
one
misery.
life, and you're going to destroy it over what? So I would say choose your battles wisely and avoid conflict altogether if you can, because war is.
Oh my god, avoid conflict? Yeah. Yeah, like again, avoid conflict while you're being hit. Jesus Christ, man. This guy is such a cuck. Unbelievable. No agency in
Is
Russia.
never worth it. And I don't think a single person here needs to die over two politicians. And as for all of the emotions and outrage you may be feeling, ask yourself, where are you getting this news? Have you seen any of this with your own eyes? And if you haven't, seek for that deeper truth. But that'll do for me. Hope you enjoyed the social commentary. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hopefully we can reach peace for everybody soon. And if you liked the video, give a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks, bye.
He's such an idiot. Again, no agency on Russia's part. Has he ever talked about Russia? He talked about Putin and about a Russia Today article, which are basically the same guy, you know. And he's talking about not falling for propaganda. He has been sent videos about Ukrainians fleeing their country. He has been sent videos about the current conflict going on. Like, there must be people in Ukraine who are filming this right now. There must be. And if he says, yeah, go and see if you've seen this for yourself, there are a lot of people in Ukraine doing that right now. There are a lot of videos about people in Russia right now who don't even know if there's a war going on. And the people who do often think that it is justified. Like he's one layer down, okay? Like you have people who don't even think there is a war, who just think it's like Western propaganda. Like, I don't know, people in Russia who probably see RT every day. And then you have the people who think, yes, there is a war, but the war is justified. Which is even worse. Like, you're acknowledging that this problem exists between two countries, and then you say, fuck the Ukrainians. Oh my god, I really did not think that this video would be so bad. I knew, like, from the first video, his takes would not be better. I knew from the third video that his takes would not improve, but I did not think it would be worse. Anyway, if you like this video, subscribe, comment, like, and tomorrow I'll cover the third one. I'm so sorry, I was wrong. Ukraine-Russia war. I'm excited. I'm so fucking excited now. Goodbye.